Brings us back to Senator Sanders, who will be heading to Iowa in 2 weeks to hold a series of town hall meetings. Yesterday, I had a chance to speak with Senator Sanders, who might launch a challenge to Hillary Clinton from the left in 2016. Senator, pulling Clinton away from the center is a Herculean task to undertake alone. Other than Senator Warren of Massachusetts, who has said repeatedly that she's not going to run, is there anyone rumored to be seriously contemplating a run who could join you in that task? Is it Governor Martin O'Malley of Maryland? Is it Senator Klobuchar of Minnesota?
Well, look, I'm not into names. What I am into is talking about the issues that the American people feel most strongly about. And what the American people here throughout the South and throughout this country are telling me is they are very angry that the middle class of this country is disappearing, that we have more people living in poverty than any time in American history, and yet the wealthiest people are doing phenomenally well. The American people want bold changes in economic policies so that the American middle class can thrive rather than just the people on top. Those are the issues that the American people are concerned about: jobs, raising the minimum wage, changing our trade policy, dealing with Citizens United. Those are the issues that have to be discussed.
So on that, what concerns you the most about Hillary Clinton's policy positions? If you could move her to the left on only one issue, what would it be?
Look, I'm not here to discuss Hillary Clinton. I'm here to discuss the fact that, for example, right now, as a result of Citizens United, billionaires like the Koch brothers are buying American democracy. They are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to elect candidates who will make the wealthiest people in this country even richer. Those are the issues that we have to focus on. Real unemployment, 12%. We need a massive jobs program. I hope very much that Hillary Clinton and every candidate who is thinking about running for president will focus on the collapsing middle class and how we rebuild the lives of millions of people who are hurting today.
Now, John Edwards was able to influence a populist narrative in 2008 because there was the possibility he could win. Absent that threat, how will you have any influence? What's Hillary Clinton's or anyone else's motivation for taking you seriously?
Well, I think when you get outside of the Beltway and you get outside of political gossip and speculation, what you find is there is massive frustration and anger at both the political and economic establishment. Right now, you have the top 1% owning 38% of the wealth in America. The bottom 60% own 2.3%. You have billionaires controlling the political process as a result of Citizens United. You have kids who cannot afford to go to college. You have a starvation minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. These are the issues that the American people want government to begin to deal with. And those are the issues that I will fight for.
So then, Senator Sanders, what's your three-point plan to solve any one of those issues you just laid out?
Good. Okay. In terms of income and wealth inequality, when you have a situation where 1 out of 4 major corporations in this country pay 0 in federal income taxes, we need real tax reform, which asks the wealthy and large corporations to start paying their fair share. Second of all, when real unemployment is not 6.1%, it is 12%, you need a massive federal jobs program, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel, putting millions and millions of people to work. Thirdly, you need to change our trade policy and raise the minimum wage. In the last 15 or so years, we have lost tens of thousands of factories, millions of good-paying jobs, because companies are investing in China and not in the United States of America. Trade policy has got to change.
So Senator, again, so these are all interesting ideas that you put forth, but what about putting the same energy and resources into drafting a progressive candidate with a desire to win and a real possibility of winning who could push forward that agenda that you just laid out?
Well, you know, in all due respect, you know, I am a United States Senator. I did get 71% of the vote when I ran for re-election in Vermont. We have a national constituency. I am giving thought to running for President of the United States. I don't know that I will. If there are other people out there who are better than I can take that message, that's fine too. But I am right now in Mississippi. I was in North Carolina and South Carolina the other days. We are getting a pretty good response.
So I feel that 8 years ago at this time, few people thought Barack Obama had any shot of winning the nomination. Could you be the next Barack Obama?
Look, all I know is the American people are hurting. But all I know is that the middle class and working class need people to defend their interest against the billionaire class, which has so much economic and political power today. And that's what I've been talking about for the last many years, and that's what I will continue to talk about.
Senator, I want to turn to foreign policy for a moment. When you hear someone like Senator Rand Paul characterize Secretary Clinton as a war hawk, how do you think the progressive community responds to that sort of criticism, and what kind of dilemma does that pose for Democrats who remember all too well her position on the Iraq War?
I have no idea how people respond to what Rand Paul says. All that I know is I not only voted against the war in Iraq, I did everything that I could to keep us out of that war. And if I look back on my congressional career, I would say that's probably the best vote that I ever cast. Everyone knows Saddam Hussein was a horrendous guy. But by getting into Iraq, we just opened up a can of worms, and we're seeing the results of that today.
Can I get your reaction to the president's acknowledgement that, quote, we don't have a strategy yet for dealing with...
I think that just, what he meant by that is you got a very complicated issue out there. It is enormously complicated. You got Assad in Syria, you got ISIS in Syria, you got, ISIS in Iraq. How do you effectively deal with that issue without bringing, and I certainly do not support ground troops there. How do you work with the international community to stop ISIS without putting ground troops on the ground? I think that's what the president was talking about. This is a very, very complicated issue. Way back when President Bush and Dick Cheney, they had a program. They knew what to do. Unfortunately, they were dead wrong. So I would like to see some thoughtful analysis of what's going on and what is the best that we can do, working with the international community to deal with this horrendous situation in Iraq and Syria.
Now, you just said you don't support ground troops at all, but how involved do you believe the United States should get in the fight against ISIS? If the Europeans and the Arab states refuse to take action, should the United States take unilateral action?
I am not a great fan of the United States taking unilateral action. ISIS is a threat. Look, the UK right now is putting up, very concerned about terrorism within their own country. ISIS is a threat to the international community. The international community, countries in that region, have got to come together to figure out the best way to address ISIS and that very complicated and difficult issue.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much.
There's so much we talked about there that still needs talking about. Our Bernie Sanders for President conversation kicks off right on the other side of this break.
You can get a $1,000 turbocharged reward card with a new Volkswagen Turbo. So